thanks for joining me, Robert. So, love to see you again. So,
yeah.
But yeah, look, I know obviously, you and I have known each other for a while. But yeah, looking forward to, you could say, revisiting parts of your career, your long-lasting experience as well. And of course, today we'll touch a little bit about, your role at Pebble, the mission objectives of the company, as well as, how your knowledge, industry leading knowledge, one could argue, is obviously paying dividends within the company. But yeah, firstly, I guess, again, thanks again for joining me. But yeah, if you're able to introduce yourself to the audience, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, my name is Robert Ratz. I'm currently working at Pebble, Director of Electrical Engineering. I have over there responsibility for all electrical components, sensor, actuators, drivetrain, high and low voltage batteries, and harness design, including. That's my current role. Background, I've always been passionate about electronics and engineering. I'm sixth generation engineer in my family. My early years, I worked with my dad. He used to have companies for motor drives. Then I joined an engineering consultancy company called Ricardo in the Czech Republic. And over there, I spent 10 years. I went from senior engineer to technical specialist. Moved late. The company relocated me to US in 2011. And 2016, I joined my first startup in the Silicon Valley called SoulPath. What did SoulPath is design solar storage for residential. That was a plug-and-play system. I led the engineering team and the development of that product, including architecture definition and design. In 2020, I joined Rondo Energy. I was the first full-time employee, and my responsibility was electrical architecture, product design. I had to work also with suppliers, identify suppliers, and then contract suppliers there. I spent 3.5 years and designing the product and building the team for that company. That was a large thermal storage product in the range of tens and hundreds of megawatts. And that brought me to my career later on at Pebble, where I'm currently working.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Well, I mean, what an introduction. I think we'd be, hard pushed to find something that you've not done in the industry, in all honesty, internationally as well, right? I mean, obviously starting off in Europe and then, coming across the US. So it's, sounds like it's been quite a ride, ups and downs, mostly ups, of course.
It's been interesting, right? I would say it's mostly ups. I mean, always, of course, there are downs. I mean, that's right, a career. Yeah, exactly.
That's how you enjoy the ups. That's the main bit. But
So I mean, I would say I've having many, I would say, breakthroughs in my careers, and from designing various complex systems, ignition systems, battery management systems for the industry, and launching them in manufacturing through, I mean, my role in Pebble. In Pebble, I would define my role as more like integration. I mean, Pebble not designing components, but integrating them and design a vehicle, which obviously is a typical for a startup where you minimize risks.
Yep.
Rather than getting into some heavy development processes that's time and money consuming. Yeah. And it's obviously that's always driven by the fact that you have to release a quality product within certain limited time and limited budget. And time in startups is money.
So, it is, yeah.
Yes.
I guess with you as well. Sorry, you carry on.
I'm saying time dilutes the value of the company, of the stocks. Time dilutes also the value, and I would say that's predominantly the factor during a product release.
I think with like you and it being in a startup, and obviously again, I think it's from my understanding and from speaking to you before. I know it's not your first startup. It's obvious that you need to be of a certain type of ilk and mentality to be successful in this type of environment. I do want to come back around to that, but I wanted just to take a step backwards for 1 second. And I guess for yourself, you mentioned Pebble there. If you don't mind, I mean, just for the viewers, could you tell me a little bit about I guess, why Pebble? Also, if you'd be able to share to our viewers a bit about, your role in the company, and then of course the mission objective. I know you say, you do a lot of integration, and obviously, with this Pebble, you wear an awful lot of hats. But yeah, if that's okay.
So why Pebble? Following Rondo, decided to take a break and spend time with the kids, really, because I had a long run, long hours, long weeks of work. And I realized that, chasing technical achievements really distanced me from my family and from my kids. And like Pebble, I was looking for a company where I like the people. I have a good fit with the people, and I like the product, because I think the passion about work is what makes you successful and what I think brings you joy in life. I mean, one should always find a place to work where he likes, and he needs to do what he likes, and that's why I consider. I mean, yes, experience, knowledge is key, but passion for certain job, passion for the product, I would say, is a key. And one of the reasons, that's it. It's my passion to create something new. And Pebble was very unique with that. In that case, as I said, it was a good fit with the team, good fit with the product, and I think we clicked. And already 9 months over there, and I still consider that the team, Pebble, got a great team, great people, and very good product.
Fantastic. But tell us a bit about the product. I mean, obviously.
Obviously, it's an electrical RV camper that I would say self-propelling support functions. It can automatically hitch to your vehicle. It had batteries. It got motors that support the vehicle movement. And I would say you can look at it as a combination between a house and an electric vehicle. It is really that, but you have the benefit of being electric vehicle, and you have the benefit of having a compact space to live, and that's the idea of Pebble, is give you independent, different type of life, sustainable life, where you can go somewhere off the grid and live for a week without having any limitations, I would say. You have electricity, you have internet. There are a lot of people in the modern world that work remotely. It can give you also the possibility to go places and be at work at the same time. I think it changes how people will see the camping significantly, especially for people who are familiar with camper and with the RV industry. It's a big change. They recognize all the differences. And I've seen two feedbacks from people who has never seen an RV and a camper. They go and they expect a super luxury house, and I see people who have experienced campers and people who have experienced
both ends of the scale, right?
Yes, yeah, they're wow.
I'm not surprised. I've seen the product, and it's quite a spectacle, right? And it's just speaking for myself, when I think of an RV or a camper, it's worlds away from what you guys are creating. Correct me if I'm wrong, that the vision was started from the CEO. I think we spoke about it previously, but during lockdown, he went on his own camping experiences, and he wanted to change the game.
Yeah, being very young as the CEO, he went camping, and my understanding from what he has told us is he got disappointed, and he said, I can actually build something that can change the camping experience. And for him, it's been quite a journey. I think that 3 years ago, that's what, just 3 years around the corner since he started the company, and I would say quite successfully so far. We are about to start selling our product very soon. And it's one first deliveries up one really they're within a month and a half, I would say, period. I was getting in production, and really right now all focus is on the production process and how to get quality product in timely manner.
It's fantastic. And I guess coming, with your role, I can imagine you're instrumental to not just this process, but to the organization as well. But it's, I guess,
The organization that make you wheels. So yes, we are all instrumental. We all, dependable on each other. And the vehicle is designed by a team, not by a single person.
No.
I have a team. So I would say it's cross-functional team effort, a well-coordinated cross-functional team effort. And there are many people with variety of skill sets who have put a lot of hard work. I joined 9 months ago, and obviously I haven't joined from the very beginning. There are people who has set the direction of the company, and I would say main contributors in the company. So yeah, my role at that point is important, of course, and but now it turns more into communication with suppliers or basically component evaluation rather than design. I would say sometimes customization of features, but I would say that's us about it, and improving the next generation. Currently, I would say it's a current product. That's how in manufacturing, the effort will be tuning the manufacturing process and producing a vehicle with less hours and better quality. Pretty much that's what everybody's trying to do.
That's always the aim of the game, right? But I mean, you obviously, you and the team and the organization, there's a gap in the market, right? You mentioned that there's almost two types of customers, right? Folks who are amazed and some folks who think, okay, right, this is slightly different to what I'm used to as well. Do you have like an answer for who you would say is your typical target customer?
Or typical target customer is, you get me into marketing and sales a little bit. Typical, Pebble has had pre-sold a lot of vehicles. I'm not sure I can disclose the number,
of course,
but those are people who like to go out, have the freedom to go out and enjoy camping. And I would say past, there is a group of past disappointed from other products users. And we've seen most of what we see is people who are adventurous, people who like to go hiking, who like to just travel, people who like to be more, I would say, place independent, detached. I see that group. I see another group that they just like the product, they can afford it, and they just come and get it. And so
nice for some, right?
So to say, yeah. I see other group of people that we've seen people coming to our showroom now, and as a family come with the kids, and you see the excitement of the kids. But I am not really on that sales or the marketing. I would say the business and marketing, and engineering.
No, definitely. I just felt it was worth getting your take to some extent on this. But I think you've mentioned some really core values that they'll really resonate with anyone, right? Let alone consumers. But just to, I guess, take you back into the more of a generic question. One could say, you mentioned about how you wear a lot of hats and the team are very cross-functional and dynamic in Pebble. For you personally, though, not just Pebble, you've worked in, I think it's 2 startups throughout your career. I might be wrong there, but my question to you is, to be successful in a startup, what values from an engineering team do you think are non-negotiable?
Well, as I said, values, you have to be flexible, obviously. You have to have the energy. Startups very often means long hours.
Very true.
You have to be passionate about what you're doing. And it depends on what stage of the startup you join. If you join at the beginning of the startup, I would say what's key is discipline and imposing certain level of processes. That goes a long way. Very often, mistake in startup is neglecting documentation, neglecting certain processes. Everybody thinks we need it fast. But fast is following certain process. And at least I would say during initial phases, it's always definition of what you want to do. regardless how the product definition is, or call it requirement specifications, but it's a key to put something and document it, write it down, what you want to do.
Follow it.
And that's all the engineering work really.
Yeah.
It's like that. You have to have a definition.
Oh, fantastic.
You usually do some certain analysis, whether it will be simulations or some experimental, you have some experimental based proof as a certain solution. And then you design and after the design, you start to test and validate. And really, the design is a very narrow, I would say, time process in the whole overall process. What it is there's a definition, you have a big definition chunk and big test and then validation chunk. And this is key to remember always that when you are in a startup mode, people tend to just do the design part. They have an idea in their head and they just rush into it because it's all driven by that enthusiasm and positive energy, really. But they forget everything else. And at some point, it happens, okay, I mean, we forgot about that, and that's very often a mistake that I've seen. Keep consistency within the work, but it's startup's very interesting place because you have the flexibility, you feel ownership, because you kind of feel that it's part of yourself. And startup is successful, obviously you benefit, but that's very often a long-term goal. That shouldn't be the driving goal for joining a startup. It should be really I would say the way of work and life, which is different. It's not like a regular company, you got everything processed. It's you work 8 hours, 9 hours, 7 hours, depending where it is, and you go home. Startup is different, it's very dynamic. Work changes, scope of work changes, and it's influenced by very fast change that you don't need to go through approval processes or so. There is so much people, there are a handful of people, especially at the beginning of a startup. You just gather, you agree, and you go ahead. And that's what makes it very positively. I think for people is they feel their impact in a big company or just a tiny cog.
A cog in a wheel.
Yes. And very, very often you don't realize what is your impact on overall on the company. Where in the startup, you can say, you know what, I did that. And there is, it just takes different type of mentality to work in startup.
100%. I think that, the aspect of impact, I know, even when we're speaking to a lot of engineers and executives, that is a key driver for that desire to to be meaningful and to bring pretty awesome product to the market, right, from various verticals. And I know you mentioned enthusiasm, positivity as well. From a challenging perspective, I think from what you've mentioned, it's just about maintaining those positive values, but then also, like you just mentioned then, right, perhaps not cutting corners, following process, and just ensuring that, consistency and discipline are always adhered to.
And staying focused, I would say. Staying focused is key. Eyes on the target and delivering time. I would say very often you will have to do some compromises. And I've seen both sides of the story when people don't want to make any compromises with functions of the product. And they're adamant, and then you just cannot release the product because it's an endless list of features that the founder has imagined that they should be there, and you become slow, you lose traction, and you lose the right moment to release. You also lose very often because of that. You can lose control of your company.
So it's a bit of a chain effect there, really, Robert. Sorry to interrupt there, but from what you're saying, it's like one bad move can lead to about 10.
Correct. That's why sometimes it's better, and that's one very positive thing I would say that I see in Pebble, the leadership and specifically being great, a CEO who is the driving force behind the company. He would rather say, okay, we'll not implement that function, we'll implement it later.
Right.
But let's have a solid a good product and release a good product, rather than just keep developing, and it's a little bit like never-ending story. Yeah. The other thing is, I would say, is, as I said, passion. The reason I joined my first startup is back in 2016 is really I have two kids, and I realized, with everything that I've done, I want to have some impact. That was also the reason I joined Rondo lately, the decarbonization. The reason why I joined Pebble as well is really that willingness to change the environment. So, and because I got kids and we need to do something. I mean, it's global warming, and we need to be, I would say, more mindful how we live and what is our footprint on the earth. And I would say that's it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, that being able to look back, even being a father myself, being able to look back and at least say, look, you've made an impact in some walk of life. I think, I think that's awesome, and inspiring. And kudos to you. And I think it's great what you're doing, and definitely something that you should continue doing throughout your career. And even, I think, even in Pebble now as well. You mentioned, of course, the organizations that you've had an impact in. You mentioned Rondo, Ricardo, Solpad, but bringing it back around to Pebble now as well. There's always going to be obstacles in a startup, right? From, a technical perspective, from a deliverable perspective as well. You've touched quite a lot on the team and the people as well, but what do you see, Robert, as, like, you could say major obstacles for Pebble? Whether it's, the industry, engineering, quality, safety, it could be all of them, right?
I would say supply chain now with all the tariffs and
oh no,
I mean, yeah. We all, I'm not saying just Pebble, the whole industry is so global. The supply chain is so global that I would say small shifts within that area impacts everyone to a different level. I would say that tariffs is something that impacts Pebble, and it's not just Pebble. I don't think we're the only one. It's the whole.
I think that's across the ecosystem. Yeah, I think that's a few spanners that have been thrown into different wheels across the, not just automotive, right? The semiconductor domain's also struggling. I think the ecosystem is definitely licking its wounds to some extent.
Yes, it's across the whole economy. It impacts everything. It impacts even in, take it, cane sugar. U.S. imports from Mexico. I mean, it impacts everything. It impacts our daily life. I mean, I suspect as other changes, we'll either learn to live with it, or fantastic have left. And everybody start to make plans and how we'll shift gears and what do we need to do to reduce the impact. I mean, obviously the tariffs are targeted to force that outsourcing and production of I would say, of components, outsourcing of labor, the supply chain delivery and various resources is to move to US. I mean, that's the plan, really, of the US tariffs. And they will impact the, I would say, the cost. They will impact the timing, because we will have to look for alternative ways. If we don't, I mean, obviously we'll be paying the toll of I think it's 485% right now to components from China, and most of the, I would say, of the components. I mean, most of the materials, most of the metal materials are sourced from there.
Right. Okay. So is that something that you're like navigating through right now? I mean, I know you're not in control of the geopolitical climate. I mean, we all wish we were, but is that something that you guys are regularly having to? Again, if this is confidential, feel free to.
I can't comment that, but I mean, you can always do. The only thing you can do is to limit the impact. But I can openly discuss that.
Absolutely.
I apologize.
I think though I think it's not just, like I said though, right? It's not just obviously you guys as well. In terms of challenges itself, I think the industry is now working on ways to navigate through. To kind of spin it back around to you guys at Pebble, though, I mean, obviously, I'm sure you've got the team to work through these challenges. Again, you're in quite a niche and selective field. How do you think that you guys can adjust and almost accelerate ahead of the competition? What do you think is the sort of deciding factor or value that will take you over the competitors?
Well, I mean, being first on the market, obviously, I mean, we are competing with a couple of several other companies, I would say, differentiate the product. There is, I would say, I mean, there is a specific, I would say, post point where you obviously got demand and supply, and you will always have customers for any product, even for the very, I would say, expensive and strange products. I would say you will have customers. That's how the market is. The question is how many of those customers you will be able to reach out. And yeah, I would position Pebble, I mean, in a really that golden middle where you get the advantages that electrically propelled vehicle. The vehicle is still provide you all the comfort and the features, but at reasonable cost compared to our competitors. We try to beat them to the market, obviously. Getting first out there is the main thing. Yeah. Yeah, and beat them by quality. I think market's so big that there is space for everyone.
Yeah,
it's a large market. RV market in USA is 500,000 of new vehicles per year. And that's a lot. The industry within the RVs is notoriously known for problems with quality because there are no standards really for those vehicles so far, or very limited standards. And what Pebble is trying to do is design an RV, but implement automotive standards. And automotive standards are pretty stringent, I would say. And this is one of the differentiate. I mean, we are compliant with the automotive standards. We're compliant with electromagnetic standards for the automotive.
Just to jump in there, Robert, just for the viewers, are we referring to like the likes, SOTIF, ISO 26262, perhaps, cybersecurity with 21434? Are you adapting all of those to
Yes, we are.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, even ISO 26262, I mean, that's the automotive safety standard. So we are adapting that standard. I mean, and that's key because when vehicle is in the so-called remote control mode, it's not hitched. It self-propels itself there. I mean, there are safety requirements for certain functions, for certain modules within the vehicle. And we are following ISO 262 on that end. With regard to the interior, the vehicle has to be NEC compliant. So components have your rating, your marking. All the components that are connected to the local AC grid inside the vehicle, or consumer related components and appliances, so to say. But at the same time, they also have that certification for recreation vehicle integration and utilization. And that's one of the challenge, I would say, because there are not many of those out there in the market. And they either need to be custom developed in some way or certified. And as I said, that industry notoriously has suffered from quality issues. And what I've known is that usually basically a vehicle sales companies who sell the vehicle and distributors, they get the new vehicles and very often they have to fix them. I'm not talking about Pebble, I'm talking about other brands.
Industry problems.
And yes, those are the industry problems. Just because there is no end-of-line quality control or corresponding manufacturers, they just miss certain steps in the quality process, keep the cost low. So, or just due to the fact that they don't know it. I mean,
it could always be one of them. Are you guys are you obviously simultaneously to meeting your deliverables? Are you also handling quality, safety, and standard adherence all in one go? Because that's quite impressive.
Yeah. Well, so obviously quality, safety is two different subjects, but but related together. I mean, safety is a function of the vehicle. Safety is inherited by the design, and that's how the vehicle has been designed, where quality is dependable on the actual process of manufacturing. I'll say dependable on the various gates of control, from the entry point of receiving of the various components, for the integration, inline testing, and end-of-line testing and validation of the product. That's quality. I mean, it's a whole science within the industry, the manufacturing industry, and it's whole science within the automotive industry, where you have requirements for low cost and I would say high life expectancies and exposure to very, I would say, aggressive ambient conditions, low, high temperature, fast temperature changes, and so on. And that's automotive, really. And automotive has driven, automotive processes have driven other processes within the manufacturing, the quality. I mean, I remember from my previous years in Ricardo. Ricardo initially was, I joined in 2006, was a consultancy company mainly targeting the automotive industry.
He was doing a lot of the safety consulting on the OEM side, right?
Yes. Now, I mean, in through the years, they transform into, it wasn't just the automotive, it was the green sector, it was
aerospace now, is that a believe?
Yeah, aerospace. I mean, because those processes, I mean, I would say the process for development and then is applicable to anything. And I would say processes are very dependable on experience and of the corresponding team who apply them. So Ricardo, they were very experienced in those processes. So they knew when the time comes, when a project comes, how to fit that project within that process.
They had the blue
to make it work. Correct, to make it work within the budget and the time. And that's ultimately, I would say, the designer, the engineer skill is to know how much you can risk, how much you can skip to limit, and what is your risk exposure. That's ultimate. And I think with regards to that, I mean, Pebble is very well positioned. The team carefully evaluate, shall we do that or shall we not, and what's the impact. And now when we have manufacturing ramping up, it's really what will be the impact on the manufacturing.
Oh, fantastic. Sounds like, still a fair bit of legwork, which I know you're very much, on top of. But I guess to leave us today, to conclude, you could say, I know obviously, again, you've mentioned today, Pebble they're pretty near to launch. I believe the signature product, the Pebble Flow, is something, the company's aiming to start taking pre-orders. Deliverables are expected for obviously later this year, which is really exciting. What's your, I guess, ending predictions for Pebble and also for the wider industry?
So I mean, we will be launching within the next several months, so to say.
Okay.
Prediction for the industry, as I said, that I mean, Pebble plans compared to the overall capacity of the market in US is, I would call them pretty humble at the very beginning, and with regards to volume. We'll wrap up carefully. I mean, obviously that's a key. It's how much risk you're able to take. I mean, because higher volume means higher risk. Even a small issue can ruin companies, especially in the high volume manufacturing. So that's one of the reasons Pebble will ramp up slowly. So because we have to learn, we have to release the product like everyone else is. Until the product's out there, you don't know what you don't know. And my prediction is, I would say, I think we will release hundreds of vehicles by the end of the year, and we'll see what we'll learn. I mean, we all hope for the best, and we try to prepare for the worst.
Yeah.
But my prediction is that business will grow. I see very big interest. I see a lot of customers coming, like just walking the door in our showroom. And as I said, marketing and sales a little bit out of my domain.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm optimistic. I wouldn't be there if I wasn't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I guess you've been working hard and been really busy since you joined the company, but it's time for the the marketing and sales guys to to really start ramping down and delivering on their deliverables as well, which I'm sure I'm sure they will. I'm sure. Well, from our side as well, I'm sure there's a lot of exciting times ahead for for yourself and obviously Pebble. We'll be keeping a close eye, of course, on the product release. But yeah, Robert, aside from that, it was great of you to join me today. And obviously, again, we've known each other before. But yeah, great to revisit obviously your career and again learn more on what you deem as industry challenges, technical challenges, and the future roadmap for Pebble as well. Yeah, really grateful and appreciative of your time today. And of course, you and I will stay in touch.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. See you. Goodbye.
Bye.